Hello everyone at the Inside Football Stories. This wasn't just a defeat. This was silence in the dressing room. This was heads down, frozen faces, and thousands of fans asking the same question. What just happened to Manchester City? In the freezing cold of the Arctic Circle, City didn't just lose a Champions League match. They lost control, confidence, and something far more dangerous: their aura. A team built to dominate Europe walked off the pitch looking stunned, embarrassed, and painfully human. Players who are used to celebrating stood still. Leaders searched for answers. And supporters who traveled to the edge of the world were left in shock. Before we go any further, hit the like button if you appreciate honest football stories. It helps the channel more than you think. Because what happened next shocked the entire football world. What happened after the final whistle shocked almost as much as the defeat itself. The Manchester City squad made a rare and powerful decision. Every one of the 374 fans who traveled all the way to Bodo would get their ticket money back, paid directly by the players. In elite football, this almost never happens. Players apologize. Managers explain. Clubs issue statements. But players personally covering the cost of away tickets? That's extraordinary. At around £25 per ticket, the total reached £9,357, a symbolic amount for millionaire athletes, but an enormous message in a moment of crisis. The initiative was led by the captains group: Bernardo Silva, Ruben Dias, Rodri, and Erling Haaland, and it wasn't about money. It was about accountability. Those fans didn't just travel far. They crossed countries, climates, and the Arctic cold to support their team. And after one of the most painful nights in recent Champions League history, the players chose to face the embarrassment head-on. This gesture wasn't PR. It was an admission. We failed you. And in moments like this, football stops being about tactics and becomes about responsibility, pride, and connection. When the captains finally spoke, the words felt heavy. Not polished, not defensive, but painfully honest. Speaking for the squad, the leaders of Manchester City made one thing clear: this defeat cut deep. Our fans mean everything to us. Not as a slogan, but as an admission. They acknowledged the sacrifices supporters make, traveling across countries, spending money, time, and emotion to stand behind the team in any condition. The reference to the long journey, the freezing cold, and the difficult night wasn't accidental. It was recognition. Respect. More than anything, those words revealed a wounded dressing room, a group fully aware that this wasn't just a bad result, but a moment that damaged trust. And by saying it publicly, the players showed they understand the weight of what happened, and the responsibility they now carry. After the defeat, Erling Haaland didn't hide. He didn't deflect. He stood in front of the cameras and said words rarely heard from a global superstar. Shameful. I have no answers. I take full responsibility. There was no script, no excuses, just a player exposed. For someone whose career has been built on goals, dominance, and certainty, this was a moment of raw vulnerability. Haaland admitted he failed to score when his team needed him most. He admitted the badge demands more. And he admitted that being Manchester City means accepting blame when things fall apart. This wasn't weakness, it was leadership. In one of the hardest nights of his career, Haaland chose honesty over protection. And in doing so, he showed that leadership isn't about always delivering. It's about standing up when you don't. The numbers don't lie. And right now, they tell an uncomfortable story. Erling Haaland, once the most feared striker in Europe, is going through a rare drought. It has been over a month since his last non-penalty goal, and in his last 8 matches, the net has stayed silent when the pressure was highest. For a player built like a machine, this feels unnatural. The timing, the confidence, the ruthless efficiency, all slightly off. Returning to Norway should have felt familiar, even motivating. Instead, it became bitter, heavy, and symbolic of his struggle. The psychological weight is undeniable. When goals stop, questions start. Is it just a phase every striker faces? Or is this the first visible crack in a system that relies too much on one man? At Manchester City, that answer may define the season. For nearly 2 years, Rodri was absent, and his return was never going to be simple. After 18 months away, the rhythm, sharpness, and authority that once defined him are still coming back, step by step. But at the highest level, hesitation is punished. Against Bodo/Glimt, the signs were clear. Slower reactions. Lost duels. A split second too late. Moments where Rodri once controlled chaos, he now chased it. The decisive moment came with 2 yellow cards in quick succession, a red card that didn't just end his night, but ended any hope of a comeback. Without a dominant Rodri, the entire system of Manchester City unravels. He is the balance, the shield, the silent organizer. And when that anchor falters, everything above it shakes. On the sidelines of AS Moira Stadium, wrapped in the Arctic cold, Pep Guardiola cut an unfamiliar figure. Still. Silent. Watching. For a coach synonymous with control, this was unsettling. He tried to change the game. Brief tactical tweaks, a switch in shape, new roles for wide players, but nothing stuck. The substitutions brought no spark. The rhythm never shifted. And when the third goal arrived, it felt final, inevitable. What shocked many wasn't just the defeat, but the body language. Guardiola looked frozen, not by the temperature, but by the lack of response from his team. This wasn't overthinking or tactical arrogance. It was something rarer, a manager searching for answers in real time, and not finding them. For perhaps the first time in a long while, Manchester City played a match that even Guardiola couldn't bend to his will. History was made, but not the kind Manchester City wanted. Against Bodo/Glimt, City fielded the youngest starting 11 in their Champions League history, and the inexperience showed immediately. With senior defenders unavailable, young players were thrown into the fire. Positioning errors, missed clearances, and hesitation under pressure turned small mistakes into decisive moments. Debuts that should have been eased in became survival tests. And without established leaders on the pitch to calm the storm, the structure collapsed fast. Youth brings energy and fearlessness, but on nights like this, it also brings vulnerability. In the Arctic cold, City weren't just beaten tactically, they were exposed emotionally. When experience is missing, chaos spreads. And once it starts, it's almost impossible to stop. The warning signs are impossible to ignore. In 2026, Manchester City have yet to register a single league victory. Points dropped, confidence fading, pressure rising in the Premier League. And in Europe, the unthinkable is now on the table, a possible Champions League playoff just to stay alive. What makes it more alarming is the contrast. Only weeks ago, City closed 2025 with authority, winning relentlessly and looking untouchable. That version feels distant now. The sharpness is gone. The dominance has cracked. Fans are uneasy. The media is circling. And the question grows louder with every match. Is this simply a brutal winter slump, or the first real crisis of Guardiola's era? Because at this level, momentum doesn't just disappear. It breaks. Now, everything comes down to what happens next. Matches against Wolves and Galatasaray are no longer just fixtures on the calendar. They are tests of character. For Manchester City, this is the moment where seasons bend in one of two directions. A reaction could reset everything. Confidence restored. Authority regained. But another slip? Another lifeless performance? That could turn doubt into belief. Belief that this isn't a temporary dip, but a fall. Every great team is defined by how it responds when control is lost. And right now, City are standing at the edge, one step toward redemption, or one step into freefall. So let me ask you directly. Do you believe Manchester City will bounce back, or is this the beginning of a real collapse? Leave your opinion in the comments. I read every single one. If you enjoy deep, honest football storytelling, subscribe to Inside Football Stories. More powerful stories are coming. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.